If you're a busy professional and or a leader who's struggling to find work-life harmony, you'll want to tune into this episode because my guest talks about how he went through burnout and a divorce and how it has shaped his practice as an entrepreneur and a mental health therapist, and how he chooses to then equip others to evolve and find more work-life harmony. Let's dive in. Welcome back to another episode of The Leader Within. Today, I'm excited to introduce Andre Young, founder of You Evolving Now, a leadership trainer, author, and professional speaker. He has developed a breadth of experience through sports as a mental health therapist, as well as his time spent both as an employee and an entrepreneur. As founder of You Evolving Now, his mission is to enhance leadership and work-life harmony for organizations and employees, allowing a professional and personal evolution. Given his mission and experience, I'm excited to have him share his insights with you. Well, welcome, Andre. Can you share a little bit about a key moment that has shaped the trajectory of your career?
Well, absolutely. One, thank you, Angela, for having me on. You guys listening, thank you for letting me steal some of your time. I love the lead in and jump into the question. A key moment professionally that really, there's two that really impacted me, was burning out of a job, a career. So I was a mental health therapist, that, as you mentioned, for 19 years. I thought I would retire doing it. And I burnt out of a job. Leadership changed on top of me. I did not like, enjoy, or respect the leaders that had come in, the mission that we were now going, the pivot that we were going. And I was right about every single thing that I was saying, but I was so wrong about how often I said it, who I said it to, how I disconnected from my team, my mission, my craft, my people, my clients, my patients. And so I was right, but I was wrong. And a lot of us do that, and we burn out for different reasons. Mine was for leadership. And, for some people, it's, more paperwork or whatever it is. I learned so much of how to be right and be an asset and how to lead, because I was in a position of leadership at that time as well. And it's amazing who will follow your lead, because the grouches recruit better than everybody else. So all of a sudden I had people following me, and I was a cog in the system. The other thing that I went through, people think that is what got me on stages and going into organizations, and it's really not. I went through a divorce about 17, 18 years ago, depending on when you're watching this. And that is what really sparked my business, because I looked and said, look, I wasn't the best husband in the world back then, but I wasn't a monster either. So I looked at it and I said, look, I'm a good person. And a lot of people don't do well because they have no one to do good with and nowhere good to go. So I created it. I said I wanted to create an organization. It was for men at that time, and it grew, where men could come, answer and ask questions, and then go home better. And it kept growing out of my living room and then into cafes and then the conferences. Then we had a women's division, a youth division. We were on college campuses. And that's what really sparked, because I used to want to just be the hair club president. If you guys can't see me, I'm bald. So I wanted to be the hair club president and the member. I just wanted to ask questions and evolve like everybody else. But when I stood up to make my point, and I would sit back down, stood up, make my point, sit back down. And one day I never sat back down, and making that transition from the community into corporate. So it was burning out of a job, but then also going through a divorce, and then, no pun intended, became a perfect marriage.
Thank you for sharing your story, because I think a lot of the themes that I hear from entrepreneurs is they have to go through something, or they keep on seeing a reoccurring theme of a gap that they were like, okay, no one else is filling this effectively in my space right now, or where I'm in my current environment. So I'm just going to do it myself. And
Yes.
so for you, I know you support a lot of corporate leaders. Do you find that, like, what would you say is one of the biggest challenges in pitching what you do to them? Or
Mm,
is it kind of now
mm.
we're at that point where it's like, it's no longer a challenge because it's either going to burn everything in the ground or you're going to fix this? So yeah.
Well, the biggest challenge for me getting business, it isn't a challenge anymore. At this point, and anybody listening, at this point, it's a numbers game. You have to have your process, you have to do it consistently, and you have to be willing to evolve it as necessary. It's as simple as that. Know your numbers, know what it takes to get it, do it consistently, and evolve it when necessary. So now it's not getting the business. However, when I first started, the issue I was having is I wanted to sell my product, but not listen to their problem. So I wanted to sell my product. I have this great thing, And when you first start, you don't believe, you have fear of having a high price ticket. Who's going to buy this from me? Who's going to buy this from you? So you have your product or products. You don't think that anybody's going to buy it at this high level. So you try to sell them the smaller thing. And if they take it, they're only worried about the number. Then they don't get the impact. And now you can't have somebody, you can't build your reputation. So I made the switch and stopped talking and started listening. So the simple question is, what would you like to get out of bringing someone like me in? I do leadership and work-life harmony. What would you like to get out of bringing someone like me in? And that says a lot. One, this is what I do. Do you even know what you want? Some people haven't really thought about it yet. Some people say, oh, that's a great question. I'm like, wow, we are on a call talking about business and they don't even have an answer, which is great. Think about it. And I said someone like me, because maybe it's not me. And based off of what they say, now I can either match it to what I have. I can customize, create, or I can refer. So it's all a win. It's all a win. And that's the one big thing that turned around the business and pushing you snowball up the hill. And then once you know your process, you do it consistently and you evolve it, that snowball will start going downhill on its own.
Okay, I really appreciate that perspective because I think it alleviates a lot of that pressure from that, I'm going to use air quotes, sleazy car salesman vibe that you get, right? And it's like permission to have a conversation, right? It's not just, I'm going to throw my ad out there, or I'm going to throw my one pager out there and then just hope that you read it, right? But
Yeah.
it's more so, how can I help, right? And I think people are like, they feel refreshed by that. So I think it's similar to leadership, right? It's a lot about listening so that you can kind of understand what's going on and then move whatever barriers you need to for your people. So for you, what would you say is one of the biggest leadership epiphanies you've had to date that has shaped your decision making and how you approached team management?
Wow. There's one big thing, and I was just at a company yesterday and just flew back, and we finished up our final session doing it, and it's called the Leaders 3. So the biggest epiphany that I had, when you're an employee, you see your higher ups from managers, supervisors to C-suite CEOs and board members, and you really feel and think that they have it all. They know it all. And they know a lot. They may know a lot more than you. They may not. The fact is they are as busy as you. And they know the company mission statement. But what I find that they struggle with is when I ask, what's your Leaders 3? And I say, yes, you have your company mission statement, but what is your vision for your team? It doesn't have to match the vision statement. However, it needs to align. What are your vision factors? The 3 to 5 things that when you and your team do these 3 to 5 things consistently, the vision has to happen. What are your expectations? You can skill line. I said, mine is I cannot outsource or hire or be friends with anybody that's not the 3 Ps. I need them to be positive, passionate, and productive. One without the other 2 is always going to be a problem. You can't have somebody super positive standing in the corner smiling and not getting anything done. That's weird. You can't have somebody super passionate because passion doesn't always equal ability. And I need you to be productive, but how you're productive needs to be positive. You can't be backstabbing, cheating, and lying. And then what are your rules? You don't have to have a lot of rules as a leader. However, you and your people need to know you have a few. So mine and people can use it or not. Mine are please be on time. Great things can happen. Great conversations, connection, and community can be built when you're a little early. We go back and forth in an email 3 or 4 times about the same thing. Let's get on a call. A 10-minute old school phone call will wipe away 17 emails. And then lastly, please accompany your problem with a suggested solution. And one of 3 things is going to happen. And when you want to challenge me or have an idea or need to vent, this is how you come to me. Give them the blueprint of how to come to you. Just because you gave them permission doesn't mean they feel comfortable. So when I share, this is what my Leaders 3 is. Boom, 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 boom. What's yours? Because when you know your vision and vision factors, now you know what to say yes and no to, and a leader's job is making their yeses powerful and their no's meaningful. So I was very surprised that when I go into companies that leaders, in the beginning, they don't have that. They may have pieces of it in their mind, but they've never said it out loud. And now it's okay. Wow, now I know who I am, where I'm going, what kind of leader I am, the employees that I have and what they need. Now I need to have this meeting where, hey, this is where we're going, this is what we're doing. That we get here is not up for debate. How we get here is, and then now today's a new day. And then now you introduce all of the things that we kind of talk.
What you described creates like a crystal clear blueprint in a sense of how to be an effective leader. And I guess sometimes what makes sense logically emotionally doesn't compute. So based on your observation of different organizations and stuff, what would you say is one of the biggest factors inhibiting leaders from developing this mindset? Is it because their organization never equipped them top down? Or yeah, like I'd be curious, like what's the number one pattern you've noticed?
Well, one has always been true, and one is more recently true. So one is busy, and something that I always say is, you want to be busy or you want to be better. Because busy isn't going anywhere. So I really have to apologize, but not. The things that I'm teaching is going to take more time, but it will give you more impact. It will give you more impact, and you're going to create leaders under you when you focus on being better instead of busy, because everybody's busy. The recent issue is that more people, more companies are doing more work with less people. So it becomes that how do you find this harmony in the job where you are doing more than ever before? You're wearing more hats than ever before. Now I need to do this while still meeting my metrics, my numbers, and all of that. So it's really all of us in life, professionally and personally. Do you want to be busy or better? Because busy isn't going anywhere until you choose to lead it. I didn't say manage it. I didn't say stop it. I said lead it. So be mindful what you're busy in. And when you start developing leaders under you, you don't have to do everything anymore. You don't have to do, because now you know who your people are. You know what they need. You know the language that they speak. You know what to say yes and no to. You know how to properly delegate. And then also learning, hey, listen, here's my list of priorities, or what I think they are right now. Because you can go to your bosses have bosses, CEOs have boards. This is my list of priorities right now. I want to be great here. Right now, I feel like I'm drowning, and leaders accompany their problem with a suggested solution. This is what I would suggest I do. What do you like about it? And is there anything you would fine tune or change? Sometimes as leaders, when we're drowning, we have to make our leaders lead us. And that's a big thing that will keep some of us from, that's a great way to be busy while still being a team player.
That's a great way of creating space for you to not have to be the be all end all for everything, right? Like, especially at the rate in which information changes are happening in an organization, when you can actually equip the people who are in the thick of it and trust them to give you what you need to and inform your decision making and everything. I think
Absolutely.
that's like that beautiful harmony. I think you were mentioned earlier when it was one of the words that you can create within an effective team, right?
And
And I
one
want
of the
to
things that I would say, if I could just interject, we give leaders within organizations these great training tools and concepts, and whether it's me or someone else, right? But we neglect giving the same type of training. Maybe not everything, but we neglect giving the same type of training to our front line. So you have these leaders go out to the world's best training. They're only going to retain about 20% on high. By the time they get back to their 200, 500 emails, they're operating on 5% of what they got. And then they're trying to give it to a frontline employee who didn't get it, who's not excited about it, who doesn't even trust the change is going to continue, because most haven't. So how about we, and because I love bookending an organization, let me do your C-suite and middle management first, but let me give some things on how to up the leadership, personal leadership, co-worker leadership with your front line, so everybody's getting better together and excited about the same thing.
Okay, you touched on something key there that I want to dive a little bit into, because I notice a lot of the organizations will invest into one or two individuals, or like you said, it's very high level leadership to go to these expensive training, but then that knowledge, that transfer of knowledge, is never actually brought back into the organization, or very rarely, I should say never. And my question is like, well, why wouldn't you create space for that? Maybe, like you said, it's a capacity thing where it's like, I don't
Yeah.
have time to have a lunch and learn. But
Yeah.
even from your town halls, your one-on-one connects, seeing how you can tailor that information, being like, hey, and then I think that creates a communication channel for people to be like, cool, like, how do I then apply that in my role, right? So I guess for
Yes.
you, if an organization cannot budget for their front line, to actually get the additional training that their top level leadership received, what would you say is a suggestion that they can kind of
Oh,
build that transfer of knowledge into the system?
I love that you say this, and so there's two big things. Number one, a company and their leaders making professional development mandatory and not optional. Now, mandatory is a harsh word. Please bear with me, guys listening. This is an investment that we are making into your development. And what I've seen, and when I go to do work with companies, I say, listen, we're going to do this with your leaders and or your frontline, the entire organization. When I'm there, whether it's live, virtual mix, or the online program, which I'm about to get to, an email has to go out that says this is an investment and you are expected to be there. This is all hands on deck, because once you put in any language that sounds optional, your people will treat it as such and you'll get the results of such. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's not your grouches on your team that won't show up. You give them some pizza and time off of work to do a training, they're gonna come. And they'll complain about it while they're there, but they're gonna come. You know who won't come? You know who is really the potential danger in your organization? Is your inspired and motivated employees and leaders. The ones that can't wait to get work done. Why do I have to come to this? I got so much stuff to do. I can do these emails over here. They want to do their job and cross off their list. And it's their superpower, but it's also the thing that holds them back from getting better. So, number one, professional development is an expectation. It's a standard that we set, and it's a mandatory thing that we do. So put it in your calendar and be here. The other thing is I added to my business about 2 years ago. I realized that when I would go into most organizations, when I leave, or when most speakers or trainers go in, once they leave, everything's done. Okay? Then busy beats them. So I created one thing very recent, one thing a few years ago, an online pre-recorded version of ongoing trainings with Leadership Lunch and Learns. Keep giving your people who they already like. You don't have to keep reinventing the wheel, okay? So when embedded in my price is the online program, and it's good for a year and it re-ups unless you cancel it. So for ongoing education. So now in your calendar, which most leaders struggle to do, because we operate off our calendar. If you put it in there, you'll do it. This is when we're meeting with the team. This is how we're going to use it. Or you're going to break it down in your LMS system. Well, what are you going to do? Or put it in your calendar. The other thing, and I was very naive about this, Angela. You guys listening, I was very naive about this. A lot of companies didn't want the big 6-hour training. Look, I'm very passionate. Me for 6 hours is a lot. So my training, let's say, was 2.5 hours. Okay, give a lot of information, 2.5 hour, very engaging. Here you go. What I understood now, it has to be 3.5. So my bigger program is 5 sessions, right? So after a 2.5 hour training, bump it up to 3.5. That hour is now for the team, for implementation and strategy planning. So this is what you learn. What was your biggest takeaway? What homework are you going to give yourself? But then I need to exit. And then for an hour, that team needs to say, okay, this is strategically with all of our acronyms and everything they know about the business and the future, which way they want to go. This is how we're going to implement some of these things. How are you going to do it? How's your team going to do it? How's this going to align with where we're going? They need to have that conversation. Now, you do that 5 times, it is completely your fault if you don't follow through. So I've learned, like, if you're a trainer coming in, give them time to figure things out post-session. Make sure they have things in their calendar. Make sure they know what their leaders 3 is. Make sure if they have leaders under them, that they're asking them what their leaders 3 is. So that's what I would do. That's something that's been really big.
Okay, really great call out on incorporating time within the session to actually implement, because I think that reinforces what they learn as well.
Yes.
And they see even more value out of that because they have this so what for me, and it's in real time, right? So one of the things that came to mind as you were talking about that, because you touch on leadership and then you touch on self-leadership as well. And one of the things that I've been really pondering is when it comes to high performers on your team, I think what happens is when you're working, like you're doing more with less, it's usually those high performers that suffer, right? Because a leader will be like, you're great at what you do. Let me add another 15 things on your plate, right? And then
Yes.
that person is like, okay, like no problem. And then it gets to the point where it's like, well, I guess I'm going on like stress leave, or I'm going to quit my job now, right? Right. It's
Right.
a snowball effect. And
Mhm.
I think that's a lot of I'm gonna say like it's actually not commonly talked about in terms of how do you equip these individuals to be like, okay, stop giving your 150%, because there has to be a line where you show the business like shit's gonna hit the fan
Yes.
if you're not gonna stop adding priorities and actually getting crystal clear on what the heck we actually need to do so we don't burn this shit to the ground. So I'd love to hear your thoughts as to how do you kind of embed that mindset within an organization so you're equipping leaders and individuals.
I love that you mentioned this. And you guys listening, please listen up. When I'm on stage, this is the second thing that I talk about. Like, so if I was going to give only 5 tools, this one right here, I call it my definition of leadership. And there's 5 big words. One of those big words gets talked about the least, and is protection. And leaders must protect their people from 3 big things. One, as leaders, we, you, we must protect our people from themselves and their bad habits. And whether that's coming in late, not meeting metrics, missing calls, or overworking, we got to protect them. The other big thing, then we got to protect our time as leaders. But the biggest thing, we got to protect them from us, guys. Are inspired and motivated. So if I go to you, Angela, and because you can tell they're inspired and motivated. They got big saucer eyes. They barely blink. You feel the company name going through their soul. Like that. You go to them and say, hey, I need a favor. Can you? They're saying yes and nodding their head before you even get it out. I literally do this in the audience for fake because I find the inspired and motivated because I see it in their eyes. And I mock it and I say, hey, can you? They start nodding. Literally in front of the whole crowd. And I'm like, she don't even know what it is yet. And everybody laughs. And I said, because as leaders, we are ignorant. And what I mean by the definition of ignorant, we are unaware of their list. We naively think that Angela's job is her job plus my 3 favors long, not knowing that everybody in her department and beyond also asked Angela 3 favors. Her list isn't her job and my 3 favors long. It's her job and everybody's favors long. And because I'm ignorant to her list, she's about to burn out and leave or burn out and stay. Both are a major problem and due to my poor leadership. And one of the biggest things that we can do is please have your one-on-one meetings. It's the number 1 canceled and rescheduled meeting across all organizations. And it's not because leaders don't want to have them. Some don't. Some will neglect their high performers because you're doing fine. You don't need me, right? So we're good. We're going to focus on the people that are struggling. Or it's done, hey, Angela, you got a second? Come on, let's do this one-on-one real quick. That is the crappiest one-on-one in the world. So here's what I suggest. I love doing one-on-ones monthly, once a month. I like, Angela, we're going to have one-on-ones. We work together. Look, let's schedule this for June, July, August. Let's put it in the books. We will have this meeting. If the building's on fire, we'll grab our chairs. We'll have it outside. Okay? Then here's the flow. Guys, you got to listen up and catch this. The first time ever, I'm going to say, hey, look, this is going to be the format. We're going to do our power, POW, the positive of the week. First time leaders go first. Here's my positive I just shared. I just got asked to speak in Montana. That was really cool. And then my daughter just graduated college. My son's just got back from Bermuda, and my daughter is starting dance class. I am so excited. What's yours, professionally and or personally? From here on out, when we have our things, I'm just going to ask Angela, hey, what's your pal? What's been going good since we last spoke? Always start with them from then on out. If they ask you back, great. Why? I make more money than you. I might have just gotten back from a cruise or a vacation here. I just bought a new car. I don't want Angela hating my guts because my life is so much more, and that's not always the case, but give them the floor. So 1, your POW. The next step is mesh goals. Hey, Angela, what would you like to get out of our meeting here today? I have no idea what you're going to say, but whatever you say is a value. Next is mesh goals. This meeting isn't an accident. I called it. We called it. So now what as a leader do you want from it? So Angela, hey, look, what's on your list? I know I've asked you to do a few different things. What's your priorities? What's on your list? Here's some of the things that I would like moving forward. This is what the company kind of needs. Boom, boom, boom. So now I understand your list. I had no idea you were doing so much. Like, what's going on with that? Why is everybody asking you to do everything? Or, hey, I see you're doing this, but let's bump this up. This is a priority. Now, hey, so moving forward over the next month, this is what we're doing, right? Great. Look, you guys see Angela nodding already. We have affirmation. We got confirmation. This is the plan. And then lastly, and don't get so busy that you don't do, the positive of the week in the beginning, and what I'm about to share. So, Angela, what was your biggest takeaway from our meeting here today? Always end with them saying what they got from it, because it may not even be what you got from it. And too many times leaders start in the middle with the mesh goals, what they want, what they need. So when they walk out of the office or shut down the laptop, they feel the meeting was valuable. They're looking forward to the next one. And when you have them consistently, you say this, Angela, you guys listening, you got to understand this. Some of you guys listening to this just fell in love with this process. Your people will not the first time. This is brand new to them. They're like, what are we talking about? What is going on here? Is this going to continue? This is going to fit, whatever. It's not until meeting 3, 4, when they trusted you're going to have it. And then you start to see traction from the plans that now this is rolling. It does not exclude the weekly check-ins. So every Monday I send out to my team, hey, how's everybody going? Happy Monday. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Any questions anybody have for me? What's your goal this week, or what's your priority this week? How can I help? And then I just get off, and people will send back a sentence or two, but now it's fresh in their mind, and now we're rolling. So that's what I would really do to help alleviate a lot of.
Okay, so many golden nuggets were dropped there. And one of the things that kind of came to mind is for those leaders who are like, but I don't know what to say in a one-on-one. I have nothing to say, therefore I should cancel. It's like, the one-on-one is not about you, right? Like
Thank
you just
you.
highlighted that, Andre. So I
Yes.
appreciate that. And as we slowly wrap up our conversation, what would you say is the first thing that comes to mind when I ask you, what does it take to unleash the potential of individuals and or organizations?
Curiosity, and then being careful, because if you're leader enough to ask, you have to be leader enough to listen. So why are you, I mentioned in the leaders 3, your vision and vision factors, expectations and rules. You don't want your frontline employees running around with expectations and rules. That'd be, you don't want to ask them their expectations and rules, but you do want to know their vision and vision factors. Why are you here? What's your vision for being here? Some people do want to move up. Some people like right where they are. Some people are here for a little bit because this is a stepping stone, and you know you're not going to keep. That's good turnover. You're not going to keep everybody. But as long as they're leaving talking good about you. So what's their vision? What are the 3 to 5 things they think they need to do to achieve it? Maybe they're right. Maybe they're way off. How can you help? At the very least, some people are there because it's a job. Okay. They applied to 17 of them, and we know how it is to apply for jobs. You were the 9th person that responded. Somebody finally responded, and they were like, I'll take it. And now we expect them to come in doing cartwheels because they love it so much. No, it might be a job. Their real passion may be doing race cars on the weekend. I can't help you with it, but guess what? I can ask you about it. People in your family might not even like that you like race cars. Your husband or wife may hate that you like race cars, but your boss, as your boss, you remembered it, you talked about it, you asked about it, and maybe you got your family out and we're going to go and come to one of your races. So that's a real big thing. Be curious about your people, and when you can help, great. If you can converse, great. And then are there things within your organization that can give them the tools to be successful? Are there trainings? Will you mentor them? Will you set them up with somebody? Is it outside conferences that they can go to? Are there online courses? Like, just how can you help?
I appreciate that call out so much, where it's just that human element of getting to know your people and what makes them tick. Because it's like, just like an employee can't find all their passions and all the impact that they want to make in one place, and especially in the workplace all the time, it's just like the organization can't fulfill that
Mhm.
as well, but you can have a conversation on it. I love that call out. And so my last question to you is, what is one thing you're working on that you're really excited about?
Oh, wow. So I'm working on right now my 6th book. So it will be submitted in August of this year, 2024, and then will be born. It's like having another kid in 2025. And although I'm very excited about that, I'm excited about a workbook that's going to come out with it. So whether I'm on stage or at an organization, I love this 17-page workbook that has a lot of the concepts, some of the concepts that we talked about today and more. People can use that, and it can be a great thing that they use and reference and build with their team moving forward after I leave. Or just randomly, if this 17-page workbook was the only thing you got, you didn't even know who I was, I believe the impact that it can have can be so immeasurable when you take it back to your team.
Congratulations on a 6th book. That's a really big milestone, and I can't wait to hear more about it when it comes out in 2025. Well, Andre, thank you so much for your time and your energy and sharing your insights with us today. And to everyone else that's tuned into another episode, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it more than you'll know, and I can't wait to stay in touch with you on my next episode. Till then, stay safe.